Hello students, I am a social teacher. So in the previous class we discussed about a lesson forms of government and democracy from the civics. So in this lesson we already discussed about the forms of government. In this forms of government we discuss about the aristocracy, monarchy, autocracy, oligarchy, theocracy, democracy and republic. So these are the things we discussed in the previous class. So and also we discussed about the democracy and definition for the democracy and salient features of democracy. So these are the things we discussed in the previous class. So democracy is one of the famous form of government in the world. So we are going to discuss about the democracy, evolution of democracy. So and what is the evolution? So when it began? So these are the things we are going to discuss in this lesson. So evolution of democracy. So democracy began in 2500 years ago in some of the city-states of ancient Greece. In the Greece, the democracy began in the small city-states. There are many states in the Greece, ancient Greece. So in one of the state, this democracy began in 2500 years before. It is important to know that democratic institution existed in India as early as the Vedic period. So in the Vedic period also, we exercise the democracy. Chanakya's Arthashastra tells us that in ancient India, an autonomous village community was the basis of unit of local governments. So one of the book Arthashastra, so Chanakya's Arthashastra, it tells about the local self-government, and that means local community, village community level. It is one of the level. Now also we have this. So in this level is mentioned in the Arthashastra. During the later Chola period in ancient Tamil Nadu, Kudavolai system was practiced. We already know about the Kudavolai system. So very notable and unique feature of the village administration in the Cholas. So it is another one evidence for the Cholas administration, that means in the democratic administration in the village level. The evolution towards the democracy is represented by the following values. The democracy represented the following values: freedom, equality, fraternity, accountability, transparency and trust. So these are the values of democracy. So here the types of democracy. So there are two types of democracy. One is the direct democracy, another one is the indirect democracy. Here the direct democracy. So in the democracy, the people themselves directly elected their public affairs, that means their representatives. That is called direct democracy. In this direct democracy, they express their will on public affairs. The people elected their representative on their own will. Example, ancient Greek city-states and Switzerland, they are following the direct democracy. But indirect democracy, it represents or representative democracy. When the people express their will on public affairs through their elected representatives, this type of government is called indirect or representative democracy. So it is another type. Example of this, USA and UK and India. These countries following indirect democracy. So here we can see the forms of democratic government. Forms of democratic government. So parliamentary form of government. Example, India and England. Parliamentary form of government. In the parliamentary form of government means we have the lower house and upper house in the parliament. Through this we administering our country. Another one is the presidential form of government. Example, USA and France. So electorate, executive and legislative. These are the branches of presidential form of government. And first we are going to discuss about the merits and demerits of the democracy. So merits, first we are going to discuss about responsible and accountable government. So it is a responsible government and accountable government for the people. It is equality and fraternity. Equality and fraternity is guaranteed. Sense of responsibility among common people. Local self-government also in the democracy and development and prosperity for all, popular sovereignty, sense of cooperation and fraternal feeling. So these are the merits of democracy. And demerits, indirect or representative nature of democracy. So in the democracy, people only elected their representative. After that, that representative, they rule for their nature, and lack of interest in democratic process and hence lower turnout in election, instability in governance due to fractured mandate. So instability in governance and fractured mandate, delay in decision making process. So in the democratic country, it's very hard to take one decision. So if you want to take any decision or one program or system, we should get the permission of other parties also. So here the democracy in India, the parliamentary form of democracy was exercised. The Indian Parliament comprises the elected representatives of people and makes the law for the country. So this Parliament comprises the elected representatives. Already we know about the lower house and upper house, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The Lok Sabha members are elected by the people in the direct election. The participation of the people in the decision making and the consent of the citizens are the two important elements of the Parliament forms of government in India. India is the largest democratic country in the world. Democracy in India works for 5 basic principles. So here it's very important. So democracy in India works on these 5 basic principles. These are sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic. These are the 5 basic principles of our democracy. Every person who is a citizen of India and who is not less than 18 years of age can exercise their right to vote in India. So every person without any discrimination, that means in the basis of color, nature, caste, religion, etc. Without this discrimination, every citizen of India who is not less than 18 years, they can vote in their election. That means every citizen of India has the right to vote. There is no discrimination based on a person's caste, creed, religion, region, gender and education when it comes to providing the right to vote. And here the Parliament House in India was designed by the British architect Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker in 1912 and 13, and construction began in 1921 and ended in 1927. So today we have in Parliament building in New Delhi. This Parliament building was designed by 2 British architects, Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker, in 1912 and 1913. The construction began in 1921. It was completed in 1927. That means it took 6 years to complete. So elections in India. In India, we have number of elections. India has a quasi-federal government with elected representatives at the federal, state and local levels. The general elections are conducted by Election Commission of India. So Election Commission of India, it conducts election in India at the national level. The President of India appoints the Prime Minister, who enjoys majority in the Lok Sabha at the lower house of the Parliament of India. All members of the Lok Sabha are directly elected through general election. We already know about it. So all the members of the Lok Sabha were elected by the people through direct election, which takes place once in every 5 years. Every 5 years, the general election will be conducted in India. In normal circumstance, 2 Anglo-Indian members can be nominated by the President of India to the Lok Sabha. So Lok Sabha members were elected by the people through direct election, but President of India who appointed to nominate two Anglo-Indians in the Lok Sabha. So here if we come to the Rajya Sabha, the members of Rajya Sabha are the upper house of Indian Parliament are elected by an electoral college consisting of elected members of the legislative assembly of the state and the union territories of elect the representatives by direct election. These elected representatives themselves they elected Rajya Sabha members. President of India nominate 12 members for their contribution to art, literature, science and social welfare. In the Lok Sabha, the President of India nominates 2 members. They were Anglo-Indians, but here in the Rajya Sabha, the President of India nominates 12 members. They belonged to art, expert in their field. The first election in democratic India. So the first election was conducted in India. We held in between 25th October 1951 and 21st February and 1952. So these are the first election was conducted in India. The Indian National Congress emerged victorious by winning 364 of the 489 states. Jawaharlal Nehru became the first democratically elected Prime Minister of the country. In the first election was conducted in 1951 and 1952. In this election, the Congress won the 489 states. Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister of India. Here, the major challenges to Indian democracy. So, what are the major challenges to our democracy? Democracy is a dominant form of government in the contemporary world. It has not faced a serious challenge or a rival so far. In the last 100 years, there has been an expansion of democracy all over the world. The various aspect democracy and its challenges are. So here there are number of challenges. In 100 years, it faced number of problems and in the contemporary world. So illiteracy is one of challenge. Poverty, gender discrimination, regionalism, casteism, communalism and religious fundamentalism, corruption, criminalization of politics, political violence. These are the challenges of democracy. See, illiteracy. What is illiteracy? Illiteracy means uneducated, poverty. We know that. Gender discrimination. What is the gender discrimination? Male and female discrimination. There was a common thought in our country: men are superior, women are inferior. That is called gender discrimination. Regionalism means one state with another state. Casteism, communalism, corruption, criminalization, political violence. The conditions for the success of democracy in India. So we are going to discuss about the conditions for the success of democracy in India. Empowerment of the poor and illiterates to enjoy the goodness of democracy. Empowerment of the poor. Empowerment means the freedom of the poor and illiterates to enjoy goodness of democracy. Willingness among the elected people not to misuse their powerful position and public wealth. So for example, if a person is elected by the people in the election, they should not misuse their power and position and the public wealth. Eradication of social evil and dangers from which democracy suffers. Eradication means to withdraw. Eradication of the social evil. Social evils like superstitious beliefs, sadi practice and blindly beliefs. These are the untouchability. It is one of the most important social evil in our country. And impartial and efficient press to form public opinion. presence of strong public opinion, feelings of tolerance and communal harmony among the people, awareness among the people of their fundamental rights that they are entitled to enjoy. Here the fundamental rights, if we all are having fundamental rights, it is very important one. We have the fundamental rights, 6 fundamental rights that they are entitled to enjoy: right to vote, right to speech, right to live, and right against exploitation. These are the fundamental rights we have. Conscious check and vigilance on the working of the elected representatives, powerful and responsible opposition. These are the conditions of the successful democracy in India. Indian democracy can be successful and vibrant only if its citizens impable and reflect in their behavior the basic democratic value like equality, freedom, social justice, accountability and respect for all. These are the things we should abide in our mind. Their mindset, thinking and behavior are expected to be in the tune with the essential conditions of democracy. They have to appreciate the opportunity for their desired roles like participation, making the system accountable, fulfilling obligations and playing proactive roles to actualize the goals of democracy. If we are the citizens of India, we have to obey our rules and regulations of our constitution. We have the fundamental rights, likewise we have fundamental duty. We have to abide in our mind. So here is their participation and on making the system account. Every one of the citizen in India, we have the responsibility. We need to do our best for our country. So thank you children. Today's class is over. You have to complete your assignment by clicking the link below. Thank you.